three guitar sounds were made using these 6 pedals. Shaevle sent me these pedals to try and I could just test them one by one, but of course if you want to see that, you go to some other channel that was already made. I just thought there was a more interesting way to do this. I'm gonna make these 3 different songs, 3 different genres, and find out where each of these pedals actually works best. So, let's find out. So I've got the 6 pedals here: the Iron Revolt distortion, the Blues Tuber overdrive, the Jump Crunch distortion, the Space Model delay, the Trumble tremolo, and the Jaguar chorus. For the main test, I'm going to run everything just through the same amp simulation. That way the amp stays consistent and we can focus on what the pedals are actually doing. I just want to mention that later I'm going to take some of these sounds and just play it through my Marshall, because I want to see how they react through a real amp. So let's start with blues. So for this one I'm just looking for something just fairly natural, a little bit of a breakup, of course good dynamics, and maybe a little bit of movement. The obvious candidate here of course is the Blue Tuber. It goes by the name, is the first one I'm gonna test. I just want to mention that every pedal that you see here, they are all built in metal. Very well built. I just love the thematics of the colors. The names are really straightforward and they are all analog pedals. The Blues Tuber is a TS style overdrive, so let's just test it. Alright, so this is pretty close to what I'm going for and it responds nicely to the guitar and it doesn't feel just overly compressed, but I also have this one, the jump. So let's try it out just to see how far we can take this. It's a bit more aggressive, tone-wise, gain. Yeah, I like the jump as well, but the Blue Tuber is a little bit more rounded, more tailored for blues. But this one is pretty versatile, I think. So let's test this with some reverb. Let's try this with the tremolo as well. Let's put all the 3 together. I just like this one as well. I think this is good for a rhythm section on the song. Then I just want to use without the tremble for the solo. our first track, and already this is why I prefer testing pedals this way. It's not really about whether a pedal sounds good on its own, it's about whether it works for the music. Let's change direction completely. For the second track, I just want something more rock oriented, and this time I'm just going to start with Jump. Jump on the Wave. That's interesting. The overdrive isn't really changing the character of the distortion, it's just tightening it up. Now let's try the chorus. I usually don't build on my pedal boards this effect, the chorus, but I'm just gonna try it out. It's a very specific sound from the 80s, I think. For me, it just makes me remember the 80s a lot, but let's try it out. This is quite louder than the others, and I don't see a volume level, so I just have to bring all down. I think it's a great effect, but it's very specific. Okay, so now let's go a little bit more heavy. And this is where I really expect to the Iron Revolt really shine. They have some knobs here. This one has a little bit of more bottom end, and this one is a little bit more focused on the mids. But it's a very slight difference. It works fine with this guitar, but I wanted to test it with a guitar that is gonna be fit better with this pedal. For this one, I don't need anything else, I think. So far, everything we've done has been through the same amp simulation, and that's very useful for keeping the comparison consistent, but I also want to know how these pedals behave with my real amplifier. Nice. Nice. it seems to me that it works just fine with the amplifier. Of course, the overall sound obviously changes because we are just using a completely different amplifier, but the character of these pedals is still there. After actually using all of these 6 pedals, I think I have a pretty good idea of where they work best. The Blue Tuber was my favorite for blues, the Jump worked really well for the classic rock sound, and for heavier sounds, definitely the Iron Revolt. So the Jamquar and the Tremble, of course, they are more specific pedals, and it can, of course, change completely the character of a track. In the Space Model, I just ended up using it on everything. Which of these 3 sounds was your favorite? The blues, the rock, or the heavy one? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.